I cried for almost 9 straight hours up that mountain in the dark. As a woman, as a mom, we lose a little bit of our main character energy over our life. I hit mile 217, and that was a really tough spot to be in. I remember having this thought that I was like, Randi, for the last year, you have been working so hard to become the woman who's waiting for you at the finish line. Go meet her.
Welcome back to Toxic-Free with KB, where we are not just ditching toxic products, we're letting go of toxic mindsets, burnout, and pressure to be everything to everyone. If you've ever felt stuck in hustle mode, addicted to your to-do list, or like you're living for everyone but yourself, this episode is for you. Today, I'm talking to Randi Zuckerberg, yes, from the early days of Facebook. But what I love most about her is how she has walked away from that high-pressure tech world to reclaim her life on her own terms. Since then, she's built her own company, performed on Broadway, written bestsellers, and even started running some of the hardest races in the world. In this conversation, we get into it all. What it was really like inside the pressure cooker of early Silicon Valley, how she rebuilt her life from a place of choice and clarity, and why running became a surprisingly but essential piece of her mental and physical detox. This is your permission slip to let go of the noise and live a life that doesn't ask you to sacrifice your health, your identity, and your joy. Let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Randi Zuckerberg. If you're enjoying the conversations we're having here on Toxic-Free with KB, please send in a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts, and follow us on YouTube and TikTok at Toxic-Free with KB. And don't forget, we're on Instagram at toxicfree.kb. Welcome back to Toxic-Free with KB. This one is so fun because I have my instant gal pal on the show, Randi Zuckerberg. I've been waiting to talk to you about something that's really been ingling inside of me, because I had a friend do this race as well. And when I found out and when I researched just how grueling and how hard it was, I kind of was like, how? How? So for anyone that doesn't know, Randi just completed, it's called the Cocodona race, 256.5 miles. It's an ultramarathon race. The estimated elevation gain of roughly 40,000 feet, is that correct? And elevation loss of 35,000 feet? Are you kidding me? Whoa. First of all, tell me what inspired you to do that.
It sounds pretty wild when you read the numbers out like that. What? 256 miles, just 10 marathons, and then 40,000 feet of climbing. Just to put it in perspective, Mount Everest is 29,000 feet. So that's 1.5 Mount Everests, basically, that we climbed over the course of this race. I've always loved fitness recreationally. I've always jogged in the park and taken boutique fitness classes and everything. But about 2 years ago, I made a pretty wild, just complete life change in my early 40s. And I picked up running again. And I don't know, there was just something inside of me. I think as a woman, as a mom, we lose a little bit of our main character energy over our life. We start to really prioritize our partners and our children and other people around us in our life. Running my first 10K race, brought main character energy back into my life in a way that I didn't realize I was missing. And I thought, what is the biggest, hardest, scariest goal that I could take on to show myself and to show other women out there that it doesn't matter if you're in your 40s and you're a mom, you can still do really big and really hard things and do them for yourself.
Oh, that is so powerful that you say that, because if I could speak for myself, I can truly relate right now. I'm 37 and I feel this dramatic shift all of a sudden. I'm a stepmom and I became an instant stepmom pretty quickly in my life. About, I would say 4 years ago, shifted as well. And then you get to that age and you're working, you're building a career, and then you're taking care of your parents. And then you're like, who am I? Like, what's my identity? And it's like, you're taking care of all these people, and it's the same thing. It's like doing something for yourself without feeling guilty, you know, even that guilt thing, or like something hard or something challenging again. Like, I applaud you for that. Like, that's a huge, huge thing. But I want to know more about the race specifically first, and then we'll jump back into the female aspect and the mindset behind that. There is something interesting. Mile 217. Can you kind of like retrace like what you felt at that moment? Mile 217, because I equate that to in a regular marathon, because I've done one marathon, and I equate that to mile 18 in the marathon, where you're like kind of like almost done, but you're like, I still have a lot more to go.
Totally.
Mile 217, what was going through your mind at this point?
First of all, good for you. I think it's less than 1% of people have ever run a full marathon. So
thanks.
That's awesome. All right. So just to set the stage, I ran for 113 straight hours. The race started on a Monday morning. I finished on Friday evening.
Oh my gosh.
I slept about 6 total hours over that time. And most of it was in kind of 20 to 40 minute power naps. I ran through the night by myself with a headlamp on. I ran through rain, through snow, through blazing hot sun. So just to set the stage for what this was like. And, you know, I did everything to train my fitness, but the one thing that is really hard to train for is that sleep deprivation. The first 3 nights, I was okay. I actually felt great, let's say up until about Thursday morning, afternoon. And then after about 3 nights of barely sleeping and pushing your body 50 plus miles a day, there is very little that can prepare you for how the body and the mind start to just like really react to that sleep deprivation. So I hit mile 217 on late Thursday night. And that was a really tough spot to be in, because I knew I still had about 40 miles to go. I still had almost, a full, almost 24 more hours. And the final, I knew that they really challenge you. The final 20 miles are straight up 5,000 feet of elevation up Mount Eldon and then back down in Flagstaff. Also, Flagstaff is already at about 9,000 feet of altitude. It's really one of the highest cities in the United States. So I was experiencing some altitude sickness at that elevation. So that was a really dark moment for me. I never once thought that I wasn't going to make it. I knew I'd come that far. But that was probably the deepest I had to dig inside my own soul, and kind of the biggest pep talk I've ever had to give myself in order to kind of push through that moment.
So can you kind of like get a little deeper with us? Because you're like, it's the darkest that you've ever gone through.
Yeah.
What was going through your head? What were you feeling? Were you shaking? Were you like, I'm going to throw up? Like all the things.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I was kind of an emotional mess. When you are that sleep deprived, you really lose your ability to regulate your emotions. I am not a big crier. I cried for almost 9 straight hours up that mountain. I just kind of like lost my ability to keep it together. And I felt, I was allowed for some of those sections to have a pacer, to have someone running with me, but mile 214 to 230, I had to go alone. So I was in that really dark headspace and had to find about 17 miles by myself in the dark. I think you would have laughed, honestly, if you saw me out on the trail.
No, I would have been crying with you.
Because I was belting Broadway tunes at the top of my lungs. Like I put on all my favorite Broadway tunes on my playlist, and I was belting them. And I was also weeping at the same time.
Like, I can do
and running. Like I can't, like when I look back on this picture, I'm like, that's like a psychopath.
It's your alter ego.
But it was like a full body release. Is the only way that I can describe it. Is like if you've ever just like had a cry or like an emotional release that like took your entire soul, that's kind of what was happening to me in that moment. I remember having this thought that I was like, Randi, for the last year, like you have been working so hard to become the woman who's waiting for you at the finish line. Oof. Go meet her. Like go become her and go meet her. And I think that was what really pulled me through.
You've worked so hard to meet that woman at the end of the finish line. That is a really great and like honest statement for everyone that's watching, listening, that they can relate to, because, you know, part of like my show, it's like the relationship to the self. That's one of my pillars, is relationships, but the relationship to the self, the mindset that goes behind that. I think that's really important, that a lot of people don't show those dark moments in their life, you know, but they go through it, like the deepest, darkest moments. And so it's like, what do you do? How do you train yourself mentally to say like, all right, these are my tools in my toolbox. This is my why. This is my bright light, my golden light at the end of the finish line. Whatever the finish line of the hard time is, that's your bright light. And I think that's a really important message to kind of share with everyone, you know, whether it's running 256.5 miles or just like getting your kids ready for school in the morning. Like dark times are dark times, and you have to meet yourself and be like, I can get through this.
Yes.
Digging deep, right?
Digging really deep. I mean, there was a moment that I like sat on a log and wept. And I have to say, I've used that analogy with so many girlfriends, like even since then, who've been going through tough times in a relationship or tough times. And I'm like, listen, like you're on that log right now and it's okay. Like have a good cry. And then like you're going to get off that log, that like emotional log, and you are going to just put one step in front of the other and get to the finish line, like however you can. You know, you can't go through a 256-mile race and not be a different person at the end of it, and not, you know, I feel like carrying myself in the world now in a different way, being like, you know what, I conquered that. I survived that. Like there's very little now that the universe can throw at me that I wouldn't think that I have the resiliency to tackle.
Beautiful. I love that. But the ultra running world, my husband was an endurance athlete in his former life before I ever had met him. So I hear all the stories about what he went through. I'm like, I can't believe you did that. You were here and there. But you know, you generally see it as like a male dominant thing. Yes. You know, but ultra running and running in general, I feel like it's a beautiful place where women can be seen as equal as men. They can be seen as successful as them. I find that interesting because you also came from a very, you know, high energy, male dominated tech world too. You still are in it. You know, so it's like that also gives the ability. I want to hear more about what you see from that side of the female equality in the running world.
I love that question. I'm a huge data nerd, and when I started to kind of dabble in these longer distances, I started to listen and do a lot of research, and what I found is that the longer the distance, the later in life you peak at it. So that's why you see a lot of like Ironman champions are in their late 40s, even early 50s. You start to see like the long 100-mile plus ultra distances, like people are peaking really late in life. And then something happens at 100 miles where women are really on a level playing field with men. Because at 100-mile races and longer, it's less about your fitness and more about kind of your ability to suffer. And women are really good at suffering and tolerating pain and pushing through tough times. And so as soon as you get to that distance, like, and you look at the top 10 finishers in a race, it's not all men anymore. There's a lot of women that are finishing in the top and podiuming at these races. And so those two pieces of data were really interesting to me because I only got into running in my early 40s. And so I thought like, well, that sucks that I like fell in love with a hobby where like I probably peaked 15 years ago, but all the data is now showing that actually I might still be a decade out from my peak. You know, I enter a lot of races now where like with these long distances that I really have a shot to, you know, be in the top finishers because men and women have an equal playing field. So it's been really exciting to see that. And I think we're only at the tip of the iceberg of human performance. I mean, these 200 plus mile races have really only been a recent addition to running in the last decade or so. So there's really only maybe a few hundred women ever who have finished a distance like that. So we are only scratching the surface of learning what women are capable of.
So are you going to do another one? Are you going to do another?
Yes, I think, you know, even though I suffered,
Are you recovered yet?
It took me about a month to recover, I will say. But I really did fall in love with that distance. And so I have my eye on a few other kind of really ultra distance races and just kind of putting together my race calendar now.
You know that moment when you're craving something crunchy, but also trying not to eat junk? Same here, folks. That's why I'm obsessed, and our family is, with masa chips. They're made with just 3 clean ingredients: organic corn, 100% grass-fed beef tallow, and sea salt. That's it. No seed oils, no weird stuff, just real crunchy goodness rooted in tradition. And trust me, they actually taste amazing. My pantry is never without them. And the best thing of all, guys, my family actually eats them. Holla frickin' Luya. So if you're trying to snack smarter without giving up flavor, give masa chips a try. Head to masachips.com and use my code ToxicFreeKB for 25% off your first order today. That code again is ToxicFreeKB. Your snack game just got a serious upgrade. Let's talk about light stimulation. Whether you're looking to boost collagen, reduce inflammation, improve recovery, or just feel more grounded and energized, LightStim's FDA-cleared LED devices are a game changer. I personally love that their technology is backed by over 20 years of science and trusted by doctors, professionals, and over 1 million people at home. This isn't just about beauty, folks. It's about healing at a cellular level. And with LightStim's full body LED bed and handheld devices, you can experience the benefits of light stimulation, also known as many people like to call it red light therapy, even though we know it's just pure, beautiful light stimulation from the comfort of your home. So are you ready to try it for yourself? Use my exclusive code ToxicFreeKB at checkout for 10% off your order at lightstim.com. Your body and your skin will thank you. Using a sauna is a key part of my wellness routine and healing journey as I continuously recover from mold exposure and boost my blood circulation for my Raynaud's. Detoxing and sweating is absolutely essential, and my Sunlighten infrared sauna has become an amazing game changer in my life. It helps me sweat out toxins, support my overall immune system, and most importantly, calm my central nervous system throughout my healing practice. We could all use a little more of that, could we? The gentle, low EMF infrared heat helps me relax, de-stress, and feel like myself again. If you are looking for a natural way to reduce your toxic load, boost circulation, and promote deep relaxation overall, I cannot recommend Sunlighten enough. It's been an essential part of my personal healing, and I know it can support you too. Head to toxicfree.com, go to my shop page where you'll see the Sunlighten ad, and use code ToxicFreeKB at checkout for up to $1,400 in savings on your sauna. Guys, yes, $1,400 in savings. Your body and your nervous system will absolutely thank you. Again, that code is ToxicFreeKB for up to $1,400 off. You can also find the easy to click through link in the description below. Send me your sauna pics. Guys, let's start sweating together. Talking about competition, though. Well, first of all, I want to talk about your smile because it's like radiating at me, like these pearly whites. You are always smiling. You're always smiling. And you were just mentioning the dark times, right? But what has endurance sport taught you truly about discipline and trust, like self-trust within yourself? And like the smile, I want to bring the smile up, right? Because is the smile there to like get you through the race, or is a smile there from like general like radiating from your soul, you know? Because I know a lot of people are like psychology behind, like if you smile, like I'll be in a yoga class. I know it's not a 256-mile race, but a yoga class and they're like, smile. It's easier to sit in this chair for longer. And you're like, oh, and you're like, it does help, you know? Like sometimes like it's contagious, right?
Totally.
To like the mind body connection. So tell me about the smile.
Yeah, you know, I think it's both. I think most of it is just like a genuine, I really believe that I've like finally found kind of my passion and my why and what drives me. But I also have spent a lot of dedicated time working on self-talk. And how I talk to myself and how I think about myself. You know, I used to find that I was really great at championing other people and cheerleading for everyone else. But then inside my own head, if I made a mistake, I was like, you are worthless, you're unlovable. Like the way I would talk to myself was so mean. I would never tolerate anyone else talking to me that way. And so I started to really think, okay, like, I feel like it would take just as much effort to speak kindly to myself with grace. And so that's something I've really practiced over the last few years. And now when I am in a race and things are really hard and I'm digging deep, instead of having negative self-talk, I try really hard to like remind myself how grateful I am to have a body that can push that hard and to be out there and to be doing that. I think about, you know, where I was 2 years ago and where I am now, and like how proud that woman 2 years ago would have been of what we're doing. And I find that the kinder you speak to yourself, like the more you manifest a successful outcome. Oh yeah. So it's definitely a work in progress. You know, I would say at mile 217, I kind of lost the ability to talk kindly to myself and smile. But I do always, my one race strategy I give to everyone, whether you're running, you know, a 1 mile or a 250-mile race, is if you see a photographer on the course, even if you are dead on the inside, you put on your most beaming, pearly white smile and you grin for the race photos. So you will never see a race photo of me like looking down, because I you know, smile even if you're dead inside.
You're like, I see. Well, that's also like Broadway, like performer in you. You're like, totally. Lights on. No, I love that because, you know, there is that moment, you know, where like the smile does help. And I think you also mentioned like the self-talk thing. It goes back to the relationship to the self. Yeah. You know, I think a lot of people can relate to that too. I mean, I've definitely gone through it myself. You're like, oh, you're this beautiful soul. But it's like, you don't just radiate beauty, you know, like automatically. Like you have to like wake up every single day. And like, we have a lot of June gloom and May gray and Santa Barbara and all over the place. I live in Santa Barbara. And sometimes I'm like, this is the worst. And then you just feel down, whatever it might be, or you might be having a bad day. And as female speaking, you might be bloated, whatever it is. And you know, whatever you're going through, you have to really dig deep. Like we were talking about that just a moment ago, but like, how do you speak to yourself? How do you want to be seen in the world? You know, the energy that you put out there is energy that's going to flow and like radiate back to you, bounce back to you, and you're going to attract those people in your life. And I think like with the running community too, it's such a like a niche group too. Yes. You know, I remember like when I was training with this girl and, it was the same thing. You know, we'd run 4 o'clock in the morning when I lived in Kansas, and the things we would talk about, you know, it's like the most vulnerable things to the most highlighting of things. And it's like, you kind of inspire each other, like, okay, dig deep and like, you're doing this and you're amazing. And yes, we would compliment each other, but then you also had to like really absorb that and say like, yeah, I am amazing, and carry that with you.
Yes. There are 2 things that I always say to myself when I get to mile 20 of a marathon. I just finished my 16th marathon, and I always now practicing 2 things to myself at mile 20, because mile 20 is real rough. Like you were saying, you've run so much, but you still have like another hour to run basically. And so the first thing I always say to myself is like, how sad that I only have 6 miles left. Like is the first thing that I say to myself. Cause I'm like, you've trained, this is your big moment and you only have a few miles left. Like you better enjoy them. And then the second thing I always say to myself is like, Randi, you are a final 6-mile runner. Like this is where you shine.
Yes.
Even if that's not true. Like I tell myself, I'm like, all these other people around you are getting tired and this is where you shine. And like, even just saying those two things to myself, like make a huge difference in a race rather than be like, oh my gosh, there's 6 miles left and I'm so tired.
So wait, do you have a mantra? Like when you train, do you have like one particular mantra? Because I had a mantra when I was training for my marathon and I like wrote it on my wrist and it literally like got me through.
I don't. What was yours? I should have one.
It was I can, I will.
Yes.
And so I just like wrote it on my, you can use it.
I love that's beautiful. No, you know what? I think I do need a mantra
because it's like goes with your step. I can, I will. I can, I will. And as nerdy as that sounds, it's like you can and you will.
Totally
get through anything. I think people need to like know that. Like the hardest of times, you can and you will get.
And
through
it's okay. Like it's okay to be uncomfortable, and it's okay to suffer. I think like we kind of have built our lives around being as comfortable as possible and being afraid to step into that moment where you might fail. There's something so beautiful that happens when you like allow yourself to dance on the edge where you might fail and like you still go for it. I think that's when you like really meet your soul and you really do things you're proud of. And, you know, I wish like more people would step into that discomfort zone.
I 100% agree with you. I think like that's something that also you being a mama, you know, you can like relate that to your children. Like we do live in a comfortable world. And like sometimes that quote saying like life is lived outside the comfort zone, you know, it's so true. It's like when you like make it your goal to fail in life, you never know where you're going to get from there.
Yeah.
You know?
And I've had terrible races. I have like had races where I have failed. I've had to drop out. I've like fallen flat. But like until you really, you know, if you got on the start line and you knew with 100% certainty that you would be successful, then you're not pushing yourself hard enough in life.
Yeah. So I kind of want to stem back to way back when, because you have the beautiful tinsel in your hair. We're all about glitter here.
We love it.
Yeah. A little shimmer, a little shine. So growing up, right? Your 9-year-old self, right? Let's talk about the inner child. Was your household competitive? Because you're very like well-rounded, you know, like you've done Broadway, you're in tech, you know, like big mogul on that, you know, you've run huge races, you're a mom, like all these like advantageous like accomplishments right here. So like, tell me about the household growing up.
Yeah, you know, I was always really into theater. I'm glad you mentioned that because that was kind of my lifelong passion growing up. It turned out I just like wasn't quite good enough at it.
What do you mean? Really? Good enough to you or good enough to other people?
Good enough to like make a real career out of it. So I was like, you know what? I will always love the theater and I'll always be a part of it. But, you know, let's make sure that I have some other skills. But I did a lot of theater growing up. And I actually think that's what kind of taught me to handle failure and rejection really early because if you're 9 years old and you're auditioning for things and are being told no, that you're not getting parts, but then you wake up and you realize the sun still shines and like you actually really learn how to pick yourself back up and brush yourself off really early. So I'm a huge fan of children participating in either performing arts or sports because I think it's really important to learn that resiliency early in life. And so, yeah, I came in our household growing up, you know, everyone had very different interests. So I wouldn't say we were competitive with one another. Our parents were both doctors. And so I feel like they were always like really on the cutting edge of things. Like they were always like researching new things and trying new things and discussing as the industries were changing. And so there's always this atmosphere in our household of just like, try new things, take risks, like keep learning and growing. And I I think, when you look at all my siblings, obviously everyone knows my brother and what he's built with Meta. But even when you look at my sisters, like I think everyone in our family really went on to, to do big things that required like a lot of resiliency.
Yeah. No, I was doing a bit of research, a bunch of research, and like all of your siblings, I was like, wow, this family, like if I sat at a dinner table with them, I'd be like, well, I was like, I don't know, but I could ask a lot of questions. I mean, like you guys are just so like into so many different businesses and so many different startups and just like, looks like you are all just go-getters. So I can only imagine what the dinner table was like. Like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I mean, was it like that? Or was it like, I'm going to beat you at this or I'm going to beat you at that? Like, yeah, it's on. Let's go.
I think you'd be like surprised, maybe even disappointed at how like normal and boring our conversations were and how we were just like quoting the same movie quotes as everyone else and like having the same conversations. But yeah, I do think, one thing I will credit to my parents is that they never pushed any of us to go into medicine and follow in their footsteps because they understood that the careers that we would all have didn't even exist yet. Like they knew that from a young age.
Wow.
And I try to, think about that with my own children that like, there's so much new innovation happening in the world. It's very likely that the careers and businesses that our children will be involved with literally don't exist. So like, how could we push them into anything or how could we encourage them? And so I think the best thing you could do as a parent is encourage kids to be passionate and curious and creative and open to those opportunities when they come.
Are you ready to elevate your skincare game? Meet Delavie Sciences, a revolutionary skincare brand blending cutting-edge science with natural ingredients to create products that truly deliver. With proprietary formulas like their award-winning Ionia line, Delavie Sciences harnesses the power of space-age technology and advanced research to target fine lines, wrinkles, and skin damage. I absolutely love this line so incredibly much, y'all. I use it daily and have noticed that my fine lines that were starting to form have been dramatically reduced in appearance. Yes, naturally. This is definitely a hooray moment for me. I also love that their products are dermatologically and clinically tested, as well as a toxin-free. Perfect for anyone embracing a healthier and toxic-free lifestyle. Guys, I don't approve everything, but this I definitely approve. By listening to Toxic-Free with KB, you'll get exclusive access to, get this, 25% off all Delavie Science products by using code TOXIC-FREE because your skin deserves science, not shortcuts. Once again, visit delaviesciences.com today and use code TOXIC-FREE for 25% off and experience the future of skin health. To hear more about this innovative skincare line, listen to my entire interview with one of the founders of Delavie Sciences, Dr. Kyle Landry. I think one of the hardest things to incorporate change into our lifestyles is probably our cleaning products, because a lot of people think just because that smell is coming out, that means it's clean. But truly, y'all, you've heard me talk about this time and time again, that smell could actually be a toxin. So something that I've actually incorporated in our household, and I actually send the kits to all of my friends and family members as gifts time and time again, is Branch Basics products. Guys, Branch Basics never set out to sell soap. They truly are on a mission to help people create healthy homes and experience the power of pure. I am totally on this game as well. And someone that has been highly sold is our house cleaner. She has helped toss the toxins with me, and she uses Branch Basics for all of our cleaning necessities at our house. And let me tell you, we don't always live in a clean space. We've got 3 kids, 2 dogs, I've got a husband, so we've got a lot of things to clean up. 3 of the things that have really popped into my shopping cart lately are their new formula laundry detergent. They're toxic-free candle because, baby girl loves a good bath time and sitting by the candles at night when she enjoys her good veggie bowls. And also their hand soap. But two of the staples that I live by in our household, and trust me when I tell you I can use this for everything, even on my pups, is their oxygen boost and their liquid gold concentrate. So guys, I'd like to help you get started on your cleaning by giving you 15% off all starter kits. And also, guys, this applies to their hand soap and their toxic-free candle. All the things. Not only will you get your starter kit, but you can get a whole bunch of other items to stock up on. Give the gift to yourself and use my code over at Branch Basics, which is Toxic-Free KB. Guys, again, if you want 15% off, use Toxic-Free KB. Let's be real. Finding a snack that's actually clean and delicious, not easy these days. That's why I'm obsessed with Vandy Crisps. They're made with real ingredients, no weird stuff, and they seriously deliver on flavor. It's the perfect go-to for when you want a snack without second guessing what's in the bag. My youngest son says that they're like thick, flat French fries, and he even squirts a little ketchup on them and off he goes. I actually sent my husband on one of his recent long journey 42-mile hikes with them, and he said it really put the spot when times got tough. So I think you'll all enjoy them too. And because you're part of the Toxic-Free with KB community, you get a little something extra. Use code Toxic-Free-KB for a discount at checkout on your first purchase. Grab yourself some original classics or their newest French onion flavor. Let me know which you like the best. I mean, that is so true. My husband and I have that discussion currently. It's like, well, they're not going to be like us and we're not like our parents, I'm definitely not my mom was a functional nutritionist. My dad was an architect, I'm definitely not in that same realm, but, and our kids too, it's like we're realizing they're not going to be going in the same trajectory as us. My husband's in business. He's a pilot, of course he wants them to do some of those things, but it's like, as long as they're like going after something that's passionate, like you always hear that age-old saying, if you're passionate about something, you're not working a day in your life, but it's true.
Yes.
Like you'll hustle. And hustle culture is a whole nother topic, but you'll work hard because you're happy to do it.
Absolutely. A fun full circle moment. So when I was graduating college, I asked my mom if she would run a marathon with me. And she was like, oh, that would be fun, but I'm too old. She was younger then than I am now when she said that to me. And, it showed just how many limitations we put on ourselves and society puts on us. But she just told me that at, 65 years old, that she wants to train for a half marathon.
Good for her.
Now. And so it's been like kind of this beautiful full circle moment that's come around of just, challenging some of the norms and some of the things that we thought as we were growing up.
Yeah, that goes back to that question about discipline and self-trust, the preconditioned patterns that are set upon us.
Yeah.
Whatever, lifestyle we grew up in too. It's like, how can you flip the switch, and create your own mantra for life?
Yes. I think also sometimes you have to believe in yourself so much that even when naysayers are coming at you from all sides, which when I started my endurance running journey, it was like all naysayers from every side. You're too old, you're damaging your body, you shouldn't be running these distances. I even had to switch my doctor because my doctor was very judgy about,
that's the worst.
A woman your age, shouldn't be doing these distances. I just heard that over and over. And so finally I was like, okay, it actually doesn't matter what anyone says because I believe so deeply in myself and my passion and my ability to get to these finish lines that I'm just going to push that away. And, you know, some of that I think takes a little growing up. I'm not sure I would have been able to do that in my 20s or my early 30s. But there's something very empowering about like being able to believe in yourself so deeply that you can cast all of that away.
I think that's one of the best traits in life is just really radically understanding yourself. And like, I like to say this all the time, but being unapologetically authentic. I think that's one of the best traits that you could have in yourself, because then you're living a life of truth. And when you understand yourself, when you understand your body, you really don't have to take biased opinion. I know it sounds, a lot of people are like, well, that sounds selfish, you know, but it's true.
Yes.
Because you know who you are at the core. And when you live and dance to that own beat, that own drum, as we said before, all the energy that you want in your life will be in your life for a reason.
You're absolutely right. I feel like in the last few years, I've attracted the best friends around me that I've ever had, the most supportive community, because you're right. Like when you truly put your authentic self out there and you're like, you know what, maybe I'm here alone right now, but I'm still showing up for myself. You really start to attract the other people that value that and who truly see you and want to be around you for who you are.
Yeah. So let's tap back. Let's tap back to the early tech days, right? That kind of drove you into some more transitions into life. The early tech days, the hustle culture, the toxic work norms. We all know everyone's dealing with that. So you were at the epicenter of the tech boom, Facebook's early years. Can you talk about what the grind was like, truly? Because I was never in that world, and how it shaped your views on the hustle culture and the burnout phase.
I mean, I will say when I was in it, it was so exciting. I mean, we all truly knew that we were having this like once in a lifetime moment to be just on the edge of an entire new way that people were communicating. And so that was exciting. But in the early 2000s, there was just in finance, in tech, and a lot of these fast moving spaces, there was just this like really intense hustle work culture where it was like all about being at the office as much as possible and showing FaceTime and this kind of like mantras of like sleep when you're dead and hustle harder and like a very kind of bro culture. And, you know, I'm happy now when I look at startups and I advise them that there's a lot more focus on wellness and mental health and keeping employees around. But in those early days, it was very common for employees to last at a company for 1 to 2 years because people would work so hard and then just burn themselves out. And it was like a constant revolving door of new people coming in. And that was just how things were done. And so I was at Facebook for like 7 years and then in Silicon Valley for almost 15 years. And that was like grandma. I was a grandma there to last that long. And the thought of like building your whole career at one company seemed so foreign with that hustle culture. I think in some ways, like I'm, until recently was like almost still recovering from it.
Really?
I think just like the toll that culture takes on your nervous system, on like your whole body and your mind is like, it takes a long time to kind of release yourself from that. So I feel so proud of what we built and what we accomplished and to be a part of it. I also wonder, if a company like Facebook started today in the current environment where there is more of a balance, what would have happened?
Yeah,
would it have been as successful as quickly? Would you see, a lot of people who built their whole careers there? I don't know. Maybe it was a product of its time or the work culture. It's an interesting thought exercise that I do a lot.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see. I mean, the timeline is still unfolding.
Yeah.
But I want to go back, and you were talking about Silicon Valley. I'm going to call it the dog eat dog world, right? But tell me about being the only woman in the room.
Yeah, that was it was interesting to be. it was such a wake-up call because I started my career in New York City at an ad agency where we had a female CEO who had worked her way up from intern to CEO, right? And like I was surrounded by women working in marketing and fashion and all of these industries in New York City. And so when women would talk to me about the glass ceiling, I like almost didn't believe it. Oof. I was like, oh, that's like a 1990s thing, the glass ceiling, like that doesn't exist. And then I got out to Silicon Valley and it was like the biggest culture shock of my life. I was pretty much the only woman in every single room that I was in for almost a decade. I'm pretty sure that most of the business meetings that I got my first year were because people thought they were emailing with a guy when they would get an email from Randi. And like, that's why they would answer or set the meeting up in the first place. And so I was like, wow, this is interesting that, my biggest business advantage is having a male name. And that to me was pretty wild. And I think, unfortunately, we're still seeing that play out a lot. Like when you look at emerging fields in cryptocurrency, in artificial intelligence, and a lot of like the biggest new innovations coming out of tech, like it's just still so male dominant. And I'd like to think that we made progress since I started my career in tech, but sometimes it's hard to see it.
I mean, on a smaller scale, I can kind of relate to you. I'm started this company called Kilo Bravo Media, running podcast shows and, working with teams here and there. But still, as a female, the amount of like ears that are truly listening to me when I'm saying, I need this, I need this, of course, at a female, we're like kind of trained to be like, okay, be polite, be nice, put a smile on your face, but then it's like, if my husband steps in and, says something about it, they're like, oh yes, of course, like right now. And I'm like, why is it still like this? So I think that's a beautiful point, but I want to go back, like, how did you let your voice truly shine in those moments? And you're like, I am here, I am tall, I am an equal, just like you. I want to know more about that for the people that are like, oh, I can't do that. It goes back to that mental health aspect, the mindset aspect, when people are like, well, I could never be, as big as that person, or I could never be as, whatever, top podcaster like Joe Rogan or whatever it is, Tell me more about that.
It goes back to a few things. It goes back to kind of that little girl who's like auditioning for things and is being told no and like still believes in herself to show up every day. But also, I have seen impossible things happen, right? Like I saw my own family go from like a normal family that you'd never pay attention to like a last name that everyone knows in the world. Like I have seen lightning strike in my own life. And I think once you've seen that, you can't unsee it. You realize that truly anything is possible, that there's no such thing as impossible things and that they can happen to anyone. So they might as well happen to you.
Yeah.
And I think like once you've seen that and you think like that, you start behaving in a way that actually like manifests bigger things to happen. So I think, it took me seeing that happen in my own life, but now I try to be that for other women. Like I try to, hopefully other women can see what I've done and be like, okay, well, like if she's a mom of 3 and she's running 256 miles, or she can like be in this very male dominant world and find her voice, like maybe I can be that lightning strike for another woman.
I had an interesting conversation. This kind of goes hand in hand with it, but just using the voice. And I had a conversation with my therapist about how, a lot of young women, a lot of young girls are raised or almost conditioned to be mute.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. We are trained to be like perfect and buttoned up and
and I think I don't know, I think the people pleaser, the like, oh, the perfect, but I try to tell my husband even like, oh no, I'm perfectly imperfect. Like we all have flaws. Everyone has flaws, but unmute yourself. I think telling young females, and you've done that in a lot of ways, like with the books you've written and the like all the little God, what was it called? Dot?
Yes, Dot. I wrote a children's book called Dot because I found in my research that it's 9 years old that girls start to turn away from STEM fields, that they start to say things like, oh, I'm not good at math and science, or that's for boys and that's for girls, like, which is crazy. And so I was like, all right, I don't know anything about children's content, but I guess I gotta figure out how to write a book that can speak to 9-year-old girls and convince them that that's like not true.
Is Dot you as a 9-year-old?
I think it's like a little bit of me and a little bit of like who I wish I was. And, but yeah, I think we lose women in these fields way earlier than we think we do.
So I want to talk about the wellness side of running and movement.
Yes.
Okay. So we talked about detoxing from toxic patterns, and sometimes our nervous systems, as you were talking about so brilliantly with the tech world, it was just rattled. It was just probably flat on the ground. And you're just now kind of like building that back up in different ways. I mean, our systems are so overloaded these days, and we need movement to process and release. As you mentioned, you had a pretty extreme somatic release during that 217-mile portion. How did you begin listening to your body differently? And how did you kind of like, when you look towards running, how did that kind of change your mind shift?
I love that so much. And so maybe to set the scene, let's go back about 3 years ago, because you would have been talking to a much different person 3 years ago. I really struggled with postpartum depression after I had my daughter. Emerging from COVID, I was just like so lonely and so sad. I know that's not a unique story. So many of us were. And so struggling with all of those things, like I hated my body. I just like really was not like, I wasn't happy and I wasn't at peace with myself. And I had a therapist that was like, you need a hobby, and preferably a hobby that involves moving your body a little bit. Like I don't care what that hobby is. Just like on your walk home today, just like think about it. Stop into a gym, do something. I don't know. You need a hobby. And so I, on my walk home, I walked past this gym called Orange Theory.
Yes.
And they were just opening. It was like the grand opening. And I literally like walked in and signed up for a membership. Like I knew nothing about it. And in Orange Theory, it's an hour workout where you spend half the time running and half the time lifting weights.
Nice.
And when I started, I could barely run a mile. But through that, I met these incredible women who became like, some of them now are still like my best friends. Like we're almost having like a sisterhood. And I developed the confidence that led to like, okay, well, maybe I could go to the park and run 3 miles, or like maybe I could sign up for a race and maybe I can do this. That day of walking into that gym and signing up and showing up for myself, like I think changed my entire life. Like I think you would not have recognized that sad, lonely woman who walked into that gym with like who you're talking to today. And I think sometimes when we show up for ourselves, however that is, and we realize what a powerful tool moving your body is, yes. Like it has literally every aspect of my life has changed for the better since then.
I love that. I mean, I even like movement is so important for me in my life. That's definitely my everyday non-negotiable, whether like, I mean, I'm a little jet lagged, I feel like here, but I usually like run every morning, swim, go for a trail run, do a rebounding class on a trampoline, dance, whatever it is. But movement is a non-negotiable because of what it does to your whole body, yes. Like mechanisms is profound. And yes. I think people just need to realize, like, Taylor Swift wrote a song, Shake It Off, for a reason. You gotta shake it off sometimes.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's really hard to truly feel grief while you're moving your body.
I mean, you can still cry, but it's like, you're like, okay, no.
You can, but it's like, it's really hard to feel like deep, sad emotions, like while you're moving. And, the other kind of like thing that I didn't realize is how many other things that I would have to change in my life as I started to prioritize moving. So like I used to stay out really late and drink a lot. Like I live in New York City. That's kind of the culture here. But like I started to not like how I felt like when I would go for a run in the morning, having drank the night before. And so like slowly, I realized like about a year later that I was like going to bed by 9:30 or 10 o'clock. I like was barely touching alcohol anymore. Like there was like all of these little things in my life changed in a better way to kind of accommodate this new hobby and passion that I had. And when I looked back, I was like, wow, like I've kind of naturally changed so many things to be healthier, like not without even thinking about it.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful point. It's like once you start the catalyst, once you get the flywheel moving, it's like, whoosh, let's go. What else can I like improve on? What else can I improve on?
Yeah.
You know, so
like I wake up, I was never a morning person ever in my life. I like wake up naturally at 5 a.m. every day now and like get out in the park and start my day running. I almost never run alone. So like I start every day like with other people, moving my body, having conversations, like really connecting. No one's on their phones when you're running together. And so I start every day with like real human connection and moving the body. And like those two things alone are just like, I mean, I honestly can't remember like what it was like to not start my day that way. And I can't imagine, I'm like, how did I function like without doing that?
Yeah. It's like an instant dose, an instant burst of caffeine in the morning.
Yeah.
That community is like irreplaceable.
Totally. So it doesn't have to be running. It doesn't have to, but like I really, encourage other people to like find what that is for them that they love.
I love that. So let's talk about balance, right? Yeah. Because there's so many things going on in your life. You're a master juggler, it seems like. So being like a head honcho career woman, going to Broadway events, being a mama, like, wow, running, training for races. Like, how do you balance everything? How do you make everything a beautiful priority in your life? Because you want to do it and you want to be there. But how do you also give back to yourself in the end? Like, how do you create this balance? Because a lot of people will say like, oh, I've got this. I don't have time for that, or I don't have time for me.
Yes. I love talking about balance. And so my philosophy is that we should aim for balance in the long run of our lives. Like when you look back on your life, you should feel that you kind of like had balance over the long run. But I think in any given phase that you're in, like it's actually okay to not be balanced at the moment and to like really give yourself permission to prioritize and go deep in a few things. Because I think if you try to have balance every day, what you're going to end up doing is pleasing no one, being like kind of meh at everything and not being happy. But if you're like, you know what, right now I'm giving myself permission to like be excellent at a few areas of my life. That's, I think, when you truly find fulfillment. So you can't neglect your health forever, or you can't neglect your family or your friends forever. Like you have to find balance eventually. But I think it's okay if you're in a career-oriented moment, or you are in like really need to go deep with your family, or you have a passion project that you're working on that's fulfilling your soul. Like I think it's okay to really go deep and make that your priority and not have to feel like you have to accommodate everyone and be balanced.
I think great point, because then you'll end up at the burnout phase, right? The jack of all trades, master of none, even I need to hear that right now, because sometimes I feel like the octopus woman where I'm like, okay, over here. What can I do for you? Oh, don't worry. I'll take care of it. I got it, and then it's like at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm really wiped out. Like I'm really tired. And it's like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And so, and it's like, what do I need to do to fill that cup up? Is it over here? Is it like whatever, working on the Broadway thing or the passion project, or, walking my dogs because I just want to walk my dogs? Like digging deep on that aspect is like a whole new level of like fulfillment in life.
Totally. So, I mean, even in the few months leading up to the Cocodona race, like I just had to, that race took in kind of the peak few months 20 to 25 hours a week to train for. And so I just had to be so ruthless of being like, friends would ask to meet up, or like people would ask to do things outside my work responsibilities. And I would have to be like, I love you. That's not my journey right now. Like I'm really focused right now on my family, on my job, and training for this race. And like, if you want to hang out with me, you can go on a run with me. Here's my training schedule. And like, if that's not your journey, like let's touch base again in a few months. And like, it doesn't feel great to say that, but the more you practice saying that, like I actually think other people start to respect you more, knowing that like you have those boundaries and you're like really on your own journey with a lot of conviction.
I was just going to say that boundary of respect. Whenever someone gives me a boundary, sometimes you're like, oh, but then you're like, oh. Like
totally.
Good on you.
Yeah.
And it kind of like inspires you. You're like, what can I do better with my boundaries?
Yes.
It's like my lifestyle. Like I go to bed, at 8:30 at night, and it's because I want to wake up and do my master's swimming, all the things. And if someone's like people kind of know me now, like I don't go out to dinners really, because I just like, I have my nighttime routine. And it's like the people that are honestly, the people that you want in your life are the people that are going to respect those boundaries. And they're going to be there and be like, great, we'll meet up for a coffee in the morning.
I had to actually kind of part with a lot of people who like were friends, but couldn't change as I changed, and who were still like, let's meet up for drinks or let's do this. And I was like, I am great company between 7 and 11 a.m. Like I'm awesome company, and I will like be so enthusiastic over coffee or over a jog or a fitness class or like a walk. I was like, but like it's no longer my journey to meet you for a drink at 9 o'clock at night. Like that's just not a thing that's going to happen. And so like, can we pivot as friends? And if we can't, like, thank you for being a beautiful part of the last chapter of my life. And now we're in a new chapter.
Love that chapter aspect. That is so wonderfully said. I want to talk about digital boundaries, kind of moving on to the digital boundaries, real life presence. You were saying how running, you're talking to people. No one's on their phones. No one's just sitting there in the room, but texting or scrolling or what have you. There's something so ironic and beautiful about such a tech pioneer falling in love with something offline.
Although I think it makes a lot of sense, because what I'm starting to see, so there's an explosion right now in like people signing up for marathons and things like high rocks and fitness tournaments, in live concerts. Like I think the more time we spend in front of screens, the more we are like starting to also value like real human experiences that you can't get from a screen. And like this year, I think 1 million people put their name in the lottery for the New York City Marathon. I don't think there's 1 million people tried to get into the New York City Marathon. 50,000 people run it. Like there has never been in history a time where like millions of people wanted to do something that uncomfortable. And I really think it's tied to like the amount of time we spend on devices and screens and sitting and staring at our phones and computers, that like we are like just hungry for experiences that you can't get through technology. And so I think we're going to start to see like more and more of a shift into that. And I think for me, that's why like running has been so healthy in my life, because I'm like, okay, you have to put the screen down. AI can't do it for you. Like it is a uniquely human experience.
Yeah. Digital fatigue is a real thing for real. I think the younger, like, generation, I feel like in my soul that there might be, even though we were talking about having like alternative careers that we can't even fathom, I kind of feel that there's going to be a shift going backwards. Like maybe their children, they're going to totally be like nature all the time.
Yes.
From where I grew up,
Totally. Although I think with some of the innovations that are happening with like glasses and things like that, I think future generations are going to laugh at us with how much time we spent staring down at our hands. And they're going to be like, wow, there was like, for decades, you guys like missed having your heads up in the world. Like you literally stared down at a phone, at like a piece of plastic for 20 years. And I think future generations are going to look at us like we were like savages for doing that.
Yeah, I agree. You're bringing like a really bright light into it. I'm like, all right, husband, no more electronics in the house. Gaming culture, out. So what about the empowerment through strength, right? Not perfection. We were talking about being perfectly imperfect. The relationship with the body, especially a female. You went through postpartum depression. You were saying you were did not have a great relationship with your body. You hated how you looked. So what about running? How did that shift that? The ability, hey, I can take one step at a time. Or how did your body transform? And how did you how did that relationship with your body kind of go about?
It's so beautiful. And I will caveat this by saying that I'm still working on it. I think it takes a lot of work to unpack 40 years of a bad relationship with your body and food is not something that you can fix overnight. So I just want to caveat everything that I'm saying by saying I'm still a work in progress on that. Okay. But I think with running, as I started to get more focused on how I was performing, how my body was performing, I wanted to take better care of it. I wanted to fuel my body more instead of thinking, how do I restrict calories or how do I diet or how do I do these things? I started to shift my mindset to how do I treat my body in a way that it can show up for optimal performance? You cannot run 256 miles starving yourself. Yeah. And so I really had to have this radical shift of being okay, well, I need to change my relationship with carbs. I've heard for 40 years that carbs are evil, but that's what my body is burning for 113 straight hours. So I need to change my mindset around that. I need to eat during runs. I need to do all of these things differently. And I think I started to just it really shifted my relationship with food and with my body and feeling powerful and feeling like my body was a performance vehicle rather than something I just looked at for aesthetics. And that really has started to shift everything for me.
Can I be vulnerable with you for a second?
Please.
Okay, so my mom, as I mentioned before, she was a sports nutritionist. She worked with a lot of high-end athletes. She used me as her guinea pig. She would take me to this sports hospital and hook me up and do all the things and push up the treadmill and I'm and she would see what my crossover rate was, which I'm actually a fat burner through running, where a lot of people are
fat burning is good.
Carb burning. Yeah. But the relationship with the body with that, you were mentioning caloric restriction. I think a lot of females, especially, I'm certainly men do too, but they think lighter is better, is faster, is more of a high performer. Yeah. And it's very interesting what people don't realize is that the more that you calorically restrict yourself, the more that your metabolism cannot function, your mitochondria, getting all science.
And you're so prone to injury. People who get injured a lot is a lot of it is probably because they're underfueling their body and the body can't heal and can't recover. And but I thank you for saying that because I still, even understanding all that I understand and diving into data and research, I still stand on a lot of start lines. And I would say female runner bodies look very different if you're doing ultra distances and if you're doing short road races. So for ultra distances, you need more muscle. Mm-hmm. You need it to be a little heftier because you for 113 hours, you are climbing mountains and burning your own body fat. So you need to have something to burn and you need to have strength to carry you. When you stand on the start line of a road half marathon, the bodies look very different. And so I've been on a lot of start lines where I've been oh my gosh, I am the largest woman here and looking around and being I don't belong here. I'm short and I'm muscly and I don't look like these other women. And so I can't run like these other women. And you just get in such a bad space about thinking about your own body and your own relationship. And I try so hard to fight that, but it's very, very hard.
I think we can all relate to that. I know I can personally, when I was training for that marathon or just in general, in life, I tell my husband I go to this rebounding class and all the women there, it's they're all on Ozempic and have breast implants and face stuff. And I'm girl from Kansas, I'm just here to bounce. Let's do this. But it's so easy to self-compare yourself and just be well, what's my worth? Like,
Totally.
who am I? Like, what am I supposed to be doing here? But take that on to everything in life and then, let that shine, let that tinsel out,
That's
in
right.
your hair.
Let it shine. And then I like to tell myself, I was like, you know what? Like these women might be like race cars. So they might be like, they might be able to go like really fast, but burn out. I was like, I am like a Prius. Like I am fuel efficient. I will go forever. Like those women will burn out and I will just keep going.
I'm charged. Let's go.
Right. Like that's just like what I was put on this earth to be built for. And but for sure, I think it's so hard to unpack all that trauma that we're fed as women of like smaller, leaner, better. Like that's just not true. That's not, but it's really hard to get over that.
And speaking for a woman, like, on behalf of women, having those honest girlfriends that can tell you and be like, wait, hold on. Why are you saying this to yourself? Because again, you were saying like, I'm so great at being a cheerleader for someone else. But at the end of the day, it's hard for me to be myself. But then you need that friend. You need that honesty with you that it's like, no, I see you. I see you. Or like, I see that you're struggling or X, Y, and Z, because then you're like, okay, I am, or no, but I really can't get out of this hole. But again, going back to that honesty within yourself. Randi, what's your next race?
All right. Well, I have my eye on a few things. So I haven't confirmed anything yet, but I'll tell you a couple things that I'm looking at. There's a challenge in Hawaii where it's on the 5 Hawaiian islands every day. It's a 50K race.
Whoa.
So you do
every day?
Every single day. So that's about like 32-ish miles. And then you just like hop to a different Hawaiian island and do that 5 back-to-back days. So it's like 160 miles over 5 days. So I have my eye on that in the fall. I also have my eye on a race called Badwater.
I've heard that.
It is in Death Valley, really hot, hot, 135 miles and like the hottest place on earth. And so that's really, you're battling both the distance and the weather. And you need to do, really dedicated heat training to get ready for that. So I don't know why, like what's inside of me that like sees a suffer fest like that and is like, oh, like maybe in different podcasts we can unpack the mental health issues that are going on. But those two challenges are really calling to me right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, you're going to do them because they're already in your mindset. And from what I'm seeing right now of how you work and how you tick, what you see, you get.
Aw,
okay. So do it. And then, text me and I'll be like,
I will.
I will. What is your everyday non-negotiable?
My everyday non-negotiable is getting up early and going for a run in Central Park. Like Beautiful. I will always do that.
What's the
rain, shine, anything.
Is there one particular like song that you kind of like, all right, every day, let's go. This is my get up song.
Yeah. So right now it's Unstoppable by Sia.
Ooh,
I feel like when that comes on, I feel like I could like run through a wall.
Oh, I love that. I'm a pusher with no bricks.
Yes.
Let's do it. And then what is one easy toxic-free habit we can all start practicing today?
I think going back to what you and I were talking about with self-talk, I think just remember it takes exactly the same amount of energy to speak to yourself with grace and with kindness and to like encourage yourself and be proud and as it does to speak negatively to yourself. And I think that's something that's like totally free, really quick, and really easy to start putting into practice today, but like has probably bigger benefits than almost anything else that you can do.
Love it. You're welcome back on the show anytime you want. Call me, beat me, like I will be here. Let's do it. Where can all of our listeners and people out there in the world, the cosmosphere, where can everyone find and follow you? Connect.
Aw, thanks. Well, I'm very findable on social media. I'm at Randi Zuckerberg across almost any social. If you want to follow how I'm running, I'm on Strava and I post all my runs there so you can see how I'm training. And then I also have a talk show on SiriusXM that I do that's kind of a business tech talk show called Randi Zuckerberg Means Business on SiriusXM's Business Radio.
Love it. Definitely subscribing right now.
Thanks.
All right. See you next time. Yeah. All right, folks, now it's time for Hot Habits. My favorite part of the show. Getting quiet is my hot habit today. I know, kind of a rare one, but I think we all need a little more silence in our life. So what I've been doing recently is driving in silence, no noise, windows up or windows down to hear the natural symphony of the road around me, counting my breaths to my heartbeat. Have you ever done that? What does that do to your central nervous system? Or actively listening to others without thinking about what I would say next. Try that one on for size, guys. Get quiet a little bit here and there. And now moving on to my trendy trends. The trendy trend I have today is human design. Okay, I know, might sound a little bit woo-woo, but if you haven't heard of human design, definitely figure out what you are. It's basically the spiritual technique that combines aspects of astrology, the Kabbalah, Myers-Briggs, the I Ching, and even quantum physics to help people figure out their true purposes in life. I'm a projector, so if that doesn't mean anything to you, go look it up. Guys, you will be blown away. So fun, I promise. All right, y'all, thanks so much for tuning in. As always, I appreciate y'all so much. And remember, you're doing your best and your best is great. See you next time. Thanks for watching Toxic Free with KB. Please subscribe to the show, comment below, and check us out on Instagram at toxicfree.kb and TikTok at toxicfree with KB. See you next time. This is a Kilo Bravo Media production.